We promised this. Take a listen, okay? This is Nate Burlseon on NFL on CBS with regard to Brock Purdy. Pay close attention to the sliding scale that seems to happen every single Sunday.
Speaking of survivors, you have Brock Purdy, who has survived quarterbacks in San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance. This young man has it. I don't care what anybody says. You remember when Garoppolo was winning his first 7 games and we said, oh, he's a winner, show him some respect. Well, you know what? Show Brock Purdy some damn respect because this man hasn't lost a game as a starter. The only one is when he tore his UCL in that NFC Championship game. I know he's not doing it alone, but this guy is legit. I'm talking about a top 10, maybe top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now.
Ooh, the numbers keep getting smaller.
Yeah.
Top 10, maybe top 5.
Nate Burlseon. Man, geez, that's
professional wide receiver once upon a time.
Yes, and now he's just a professional broadcaster.
Yeah.
He's an incredible broadcaster.
Does a great job.
Liked his stuff. But man, that's some heady company. Now, the follow-up would be, who are you knocking out of your original top 5 to put him in the top 5?
Well,
Mr. Maybe top 5.
I don't know. I mean, everybody has Mahomes and Allen. I feel like everyone has Burrow, but they're not quite sure what to do with that in this moment.
Sure.
Where do we go from there in the conversation that would probably include the likes of Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts?
And Herbert and Tua.
Yeah, sure. Although it's funny, like, this is a sliding scale. We do it every week. Tua would not have been on anybody's list even, like, certainly not 4 weeks ago.
I don't think I had him on my list. I might have had him ahead of Brock when I did my.
Yeah.
I think I had Brock 12th or 13th.
This is one of the things that's so interesting about the 49ers and the Dolphins, and it is another nod to Kyle Shanahan. That is his tree. His tree, like Bill Walsh had, and Bill Parcells had, and Bill Belichick has had, even though that came from the Parcells tree. Like Shanahan, McDaniel. Less so for me when it's a defensive coach like a Robert Saleh or a DeMeco Ryans, and congrats to DeMeco for his first NFL coaching victory yesterday at Jacksonville. But the tree is starting, and if those two are running the same kind of offense, the same kind of deal, they've clearly had the 2 best starts in the 2 different conferences, not just because they're 3-0, but I think with the dominance with which they've played, all of their wins have been high scoring. I know that the Dolphins, obviously, real close game with the Chargers there week 1, and they won 36-34, but scoring a lot of points and just looking like they all have that identity and know what they're doing. If this is all coming from the same place, and they have the 2 quarterbacks whose numbers and data suggest, we have to be right here in the top 7, but no one really looks at them that way. Everybody kind of hesitates with Tua and Purdy, size, arm strength, what have you. There's a hesitation there. And I get it. Maybe you need more time. But I wonder this, for example. So Nate Burleson's talking about Brock Purdy. We're sitting here talking a lot about Kyle Shanahan. 3 weeks into the season, who has sort of impressed you more? Who's grabbed your attention more? Which one is more important to the success of the team the rest of this year and beyond?
Probably Tua.
I was asking between Purdy and Shanahan.
It would be Shanahan.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
You're not allowed to go off the board like that.
Sorry about that.
Can't just, there's no write-in candidate in this question. You can't just I'll take Tua.
To me, it still is Shanahan because of what he does with his personnel. Purdy's been great.
Yep.
And, Purdy's been unbelievably efficient, and he's been effective. He has 1 turnover. He has the only turnover. The offense has been fantastic. But in terms of who, to me, has been more impressive, it's Kyle Shanahan, just based on, they've won decisively, yes. And Brock Purdy's been a big part of all of it. I think it's been Kyle Shanahan's play calling, and it's been the way he's deployed the personnel, to me, that gives him the slight nod.
Well, it's interesting. A few ways to answer that question. Not by saying Tua, but there's a few ways to answer the question. Like, I sort of want to say Purdy for this reason, which is that I was already there on Kyle.
Right.
I didn't have any questions about Kyle personally. If you did, fine. I did not come into this year with any questions in my mind about Kyle Shanahan. None. Can he coach? Is he this? Is that?
Sure.
None. Zero. Purdy, of course, we did. Starting with just like, dude, you healthy? You
Right.
good? Like, are you gonna right? Are you gonna play? And then even when he does play, then I think you're talking about a different sort of setup for him this year, just because you're now the starter, right? We talked about this last week. Your expectations for Purdy are different this year versus last year, only because last year it's like you got thrown in and we didn't know what was going to happen, and we certainly weren't thinking you could do that. But now it's like, wait a minute, now you've been branded QB1. And so that is a totally different prism, and there's the health thing, and how's it going to look? So you come out and score 30 points every game, and I think that that's such a calming factor for 49er fans, because it's like, oh, all right, this works.
Right. It feels more real now, right?
It works last year,
Yeah.
It worked this year, different scenarios, home, road, good team, bad team, from ahead, from behind, whatever it is, all these scenarios keep leading to the same answer. And so I'm a little bit more excited about Purdy in the recency form of the question.
I get that.
I was already there on Kyle.
I think for me, the question about Kyle comes down to game management, and he hasn't had to really worry about that yet because, as you mentioned, the closest game was a game that wasn't that close, that became a one-score game with a last-second field goal to make it from 10-7 to cover some odd spread for whatever odd reason. So that, to me, remains as the only question mark about Kyle Shanahan is, when you get into a tight spot, can you manage the game? Can you get to the spot where you don't lose a big game in a big spot?